Hello. Hello.
So before letting people in, can our panelists hear me? The panelists, can they hear me? The people on Zoom. Okay. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, Nina.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. We'll be starting shortly. So just a minute, please.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Valued advice begins with shared values. Knowing the importance of long-term relationships and connecting you as an industry leader, founder, or successor to the challenges and opportunities that matter. Whether you're planning for the next quarter or the next generation, taking a family business that's cornered a market to all four corners of the globe, navigating a crisis and protecting all you have achieved, building trust with your team and a reputation that's admired, or planning for tomorrow so you can live today. Your business is personal. Your advice should be private. As a family enterprise, you know how important trust is. Within your family, your organization, your market. After all, trust has been the bond connecting you to your stakeholders every step of the way. But trust is the need of the hour. And we understand that in these challenging times of greater distance, you need to work more closely than ever. Because when the company name is your name, trust is your most valuable asset. And that's why at Deloitte, we recognize that trust in all its dimensions needs to be a part of your strategy, your customer experiences, your digital connectivity. Because every interaction is an opportunity to build trust. It's your competitive advantage. Let Deloitte help you measure trust and maximize it so that your family enterprise can thrive for generations to come. Ready to lead with trust? Your business is personal. Your advice should be private.
Hello.
As a family enterprise, you know how important.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Deloitte West Africa Techtrends event. Thank you all for joining online and for those in the room. All right, so we'll just go straight into the event. I know we're a few minutes behind schedule. We'll go straight into the event. Okay, so today we have a lot lined up for you today. We have thought leaders across the industry and thought leaders within Deloitte, and we'll be able to tell you specific things you'll be able to do across different tech trends areas, looking at things around data sharing, blockchain, and other areas, right? So we'll start off by taking opening remarks from Kevin Govender. Thank you very much. And just to introduce Kevin, all right, so Kevin is Deloitte Africa ERP leader, and he's also the Deloitte Africa CIO program leader. He's an experienced business enterprise architect and strategist with over 6 years experience and providing business strategy solutions to organizations in mining, oil and gas, logistics, management consulting, and other industries. He has extensive experience in strategy development and implementation, enterprise architecture, BI, business advisory, and other areas, right? His main focus is on implementing technology and innovation to grow and transform organizations. All right, so right now, please join me as I welcome Kevin to take the opening remark. Thank you.
Yes, it's a pleasure today to be with you to do the opening remarks. Okay. Next slide, please. An organization's ability to reimagine and reinvent its business model to offer unique opportunities for humanizing technology and developing innovative platforms. If you look at where organizations are today, we are looking at how do we reimagine and reinvent our organization, whether it's changing your business model, changing your technology, looking at innovative technologies and emerging technologies, and understanding how do you use technology and innovation to grow and transform your organization. That is what is critical across the world. It is a great pleasure to present our Deloitte 13th Annual Tech Trends. And just to give you some intel in terms of how the Tech Trends come about, this is the 13th year that we've created them. And what we do is we look at trends that are going to change or disrupt businesses in the next 18 to 24 months. Part of the process that we follow in terms of identifying these trends, firstly, we get feedback from our clients, our executives on current and future priorities that they have in their business. We look at academia, we look at industries, we look at the changes that they are going through and some of the pain points, and understanding what technology out there can actually help drive this new innovation and a changing in a changing and dynamic world. And part of that, what we do is we look at roadmaps, we look at investments that are happening from startups and venture capitalists across the world to be able to identify how this will impact the technology and the technology vendors across the world. If I look at the macro technology forces, we have what we call the foundation, which is the business of technology, that we talk about the evolution of the IT function. We look at cyber and trust and regulatory and ethics. We look at the core modernization, which is how do we reshape businesses and the heart of the core systems. And then if you look at, we have three different layers, the interaction layer, which talks about digital experience, the digital reality and how do we reimagine engagements, ambient experience, which is about how do we get transparent interfaces, and part of the end game is about simplicity. From an information perspective, we look at data analytics, and part of this is about data architecture, insights, and if you look at where organizations are going today, we're looking at data-driven organizations where insights are key to decision-making. Artificial intelligence, how do we predict, prescribe, augment, and automate information that can be available either in real time or near real time. And we talk about exponential intelligence, symbolic, deep, and broad reasoning so that we can use this intel to make strategic decisions. And we term that as omniscience. If you look at from a computation perspective, we look at cloud, flexibility, and ambiguity. We look at distributed platform, because if you look at what's happening at the world, we are moving away into the hybrid systems, private cloud, public cloud. There's a huge drive moving away from on-premise systems. And how do you ensure that these assets and the connectivity that is available to be able to connect the different systems across the world? And quantum is about exponential computation with the vast amount of improvement we have moving into 5G, 6G, looking at nano computing. How do we look at actually evolving? And we refer to this as abundance. Next slide, please. Trending the trends. In our 13 years of research, we've looked at these trends, and these trends over the last 13 years have evolved. And if you look at where we are today, we look at business of technology, the tech stack goes physical, cyber, AI, how do you bring that together? We look at core modernization from an IT and how do we disrupt ourselves, to the point of how data sharing becomes important in the world that we exist today. Cloud goes vertical, blockchain ready for business, and moving from making it mainstream. And what we talk about horizon next, which is about field notes from the future. Where is the world going? What are the changes? How has COVID changed the world? And what are some of the key things that are evolving? And how do we take advantage of these new technologies that are emerging? Next slide. Our 13 trends, the 13th edition of our trends are broken down into 3 areas. The first one being advancing the enterprise. And there's three key trends we talk about there. One is data sharing made easy. The second one is cloud goes vertical. The third one is blockchain ready for business. And as I said, that is about mainstream. Then we look at the second category being optimizing IT. IT disrupts thyself, so automation at scale. How do we actually look at things like RPA and different technologies to be able to automate at scale? Cyber AI, real defense. That's a combination of bringing artificial intelligence and cyber together. The tech stack goes physical. And the last one is projecting the possible, which is about the field notes from the future. What are those exponential technologies and new technologies that we're not even aware of? And part of this is about looking into the future and identifying how does the world change and how will technology change to be able to support us going forward. Next slide, please. I'm just going to give you a very brief overview of each of the trends, and I think my colleagues will deep dive some of them. So the first one is data sharing made easy. This talks about new technologies give rise to what we call innovative business models and products by simplifying the mechanisms of data sharing across organizations, between organizations, all while preserving the veil of privacy. And I think this is a very important trend. Just to maybe just give one example is, if you look at when COVID appeared, everybody was in the dark. We didn't know what this was. But by the power of sharing, doctors coming together, physicians, pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, patients, data was being able to be shared so quickly across these different enterprises and organizations that it was possible in such a short time to be able to develop a vaccine. And that's the power of data sharing. Cloud goes vertical. Cloud and software vendors now offer vertical specific solutions that modernize legacy processes and jumpstart innovation. Deploying them is a process of assembly, thus freeing organizations to focus on resources on competitive. And I think that's quite important, is how do you look at the different industry clouds, for example, and also these industry specific capabilities that are being developed. And that's the power of the collaboration between vendors and organizations that are coming across with this new technology. If we look at the next trend, blockchain ready for business. Blockchain and other distributed ledger technology platforms are fundamental, changing the nature of doing business across organizations, helping many companies reimagine how they make and manage tangible and digital assets. And if you look at where the world is going, we refer to it as the trust economy, the platform economy. And blockchain is how do we make it mainstream so that we can actually use this in our businesses and not just use this as POCs or startups. And if you look at the next one, IT, disrupt thyself, automating at scale. We look at future forward IT organizations that are modernizing the back office, but it's also important that we modernize our back office, things like self-service, being proactive in terms of the models, the engineering, automation, and how do we automate and integrate our back office and the operations in terms of IT, OT. And that is where the power of computing comes through. Cyber AI, real defense. As organizations struggle with security breaches, cyber AI can be a force multiplier. And I think this is very important. I think what we're seeing is with ransomware, with cyber attacks, we as organizations, we are finding it quite difficult to be able to be proactive and detect this. The use of AI, artificial intelligence, and cyber coming together brings the power of allowing us to be able to do this, but also to anticipate these moves and act in advance. So that's the reason where we're looking at, where cyber was its technology on its own and AI, how do we bring this together to be able to bring the power? The tech stack goes physical. The explosion of smart devices and increased automation of physical tasks are extending IT through the process. And if you look at, we look at industrial robots, drones, sensor-enabled devices, countless other business critical assets. And how do you take these assets and deploy in the organization and be able to work smart, get the power of these technical stacks, integrate it into your IT, OT systems, to be able to make business critical decisions. And I think that's where the world is going. If you look at IoT, in terms of the technologies, the devices, they're getting cheaper. They can measure much more than we could do previously. And the power of this is coming through. And I think if I look at the last one is field notes from the future. How do we part of this is we have what we call also a Maverick Center, where we look at, unique things that nobody has thought about. How do we take a closer look at the horizon, the macro forces, the quantum exponential intelligence, the ambient experiences, and how do we envisage this and the forces, and how do we make it a reality for today? And I think, these are the 7 technologies that we've looked at from a 2013 perspective, the tech trends of 2022. I'm now going to hand over to my colleagues who are going to take some of these trends and actually deep dive them, and also be able to bring you some of the use cases, but also the localization of these use cases, and how you as organizations can actually take this and deploy this in your organization to be able to differentiate, create, different operating models, diversify your organizations, achieve your strategic objectives through the use of technology and innovation. Thank you.
Moves forward at an ever-increasing pace. Organizations are navigating an abundance of data, advances, and opportunity. We can't slow the rate of change, but we can engineer a better future by automating much of what's new and next. Inside the organization, automation can free us from repetitive manual processes and elevate our IT professionals from those who respond to problems to engineers who prevent problems. Robots, drones, and other smart devices need to be managed in new ways by IT. AI-enabled cybersecurity can protect these assets from proliferating attacks, not just by automating threat response, but by helping analysts proactively focus on prevention. To amplify collaboration across organizations, modern architectures and encryption techniques enable us to automate data sharing and develop new business models. Cloud providers create modular business services and accelerators that allow organizations to easily assemble applications instead of writing custom code. Advancements in blockchain and other distributed ledger technologies automate collaboration across organizational boundaries, allowing more effective management of tangible and digital assets. As we look forward, technology will continue to accelerate and the flow of data will get stronger. Together, by embracing automation, we can unlock innovation, build trust, and engineer a technology-forward future.
All right. Thank you very much, Kevin, for the introduction. So for this particular event, we'll be focusing on 5 of the 7 tech trends. One of the things we've seen from a West African perspective is we've been able to realize that 5 of those tech trends are of significant importance to us within the West African market. And to take us into the first tech trend, which will be cloud goes vertical, we'll be doing a bit more deep dive around cloud goes vertical. I will introduce the speaker shortly, but just quickly give us an overview of cloud goes vertical.
It isn't really about the cloud. It's about...
Okay, just to give an overview of cloud goes vertical. Previous slide, please. So just as Kevin mentioned, on the cloud goes vertical, we know today, right, there are more cloud and software vendors are now offering vertical specific solutions. There's a move towards modernizing legacy infrastructure. We see more and more organizations beginning to take maximum advantage of cloud and the benefits. Right, so I will introduce Romanos shortly, and then Romanos will take us through cloud goes vertical. So Romanos is a success-driven manager within the cloud engineering team. With over 11 years of experience in technology transformation to overcome customer challenges. He has held IT leadership and project delivery roles, focused on evaluating and executing digital transformation journey for multiple organizations across several industries. Please join me as I welcome Romanus to take Cloud Goes Let's Go. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you once more for joining this section. So before I begin to dive into Cloud Goes Vertical and the insights based on what we've seen in the market, I will first of all want to give a kind of context into what cloud is all about. So is cloud another buzzword? No. Is it a new technology platform? No. So basically cloud, it's all about reimagining businesses. So it's about what is possible. So as a business, today we see businesses trying to innovate and trying to increase business agility and gain speed in terms of time to value. So cloud is that enabler that will help you navigate and build products that can readily go to the market. So what we've seen within West Africa in terms of adoption is that cloud spend has really gone up. And the reason for that is because different businesses are trying to leverage cloud in driving different business processes. Like within West Africa, for example, we've seen cloud spend go up to about 70% in recent times. Within Southern Africa, like Zimbabwe, for example, we've seen like 59% based on analyst reports. We've also seen like half of the companies within Nigeria and Botswana adopting cloud. So that tells you that they want to go beyond limit. They want to move businesses such that customers are driving values. And what we've also seen is that in most economies within Africa, the adoption is really accelerating. And this cannot really be associated with the fact that everyone is trying to transform. And when we talk about digital transformation, it's all about making possible those things that ordinarily, maybe because you had in-house infrastructures, you are not able to do. Today, you are able to do that, leveraging different capabilities that cloud technology provides. We've seen telecom companies becoming a tech company in our time. The reason is that folks with mobile phone and laptops are beginning to disrupt the top 500, Fortune 500 companies. So what we've seen is that with cloud, you're able to really ship products to the market as a business. And within West Africa, what has really enabled this is about infrastructure that are available. We've also seen that government agencies has really begin to ramp up around building policies and frameworks that will enable practitioners to be able to leverage the opportunities that cloud provides to do more. Then we've also seen, in terms of human resources, different companies trying to build capacity around how human capital can be trained or enhanced to be able to address the complexities that comes with cloud. Next slide, please. So what are the challenges? We know that since cloud is not a new technology platform, there are a number of challenges, more especially within our market. So within West Africa, we all know that power is a major issue. So, and this has really increased complexities around how do you support the infrastructure that powers cloud itself. So we've also seen complexities around people not being able to have the right skill set to drive such technology. Then another issue that is also common is that of security concerns and privacy of information or data. So businesses find it very difficult, most times to entrust you with your data. So it's a major challenge that we've seen within the market. Then the skills gap, just as I had highlighted before, is another where we don't have people who have requisite skill to drive the implementation of cloud. Then, in terms of standardization, is also a challenge because even the government agencies that regulate the practice of cloud engineering, for example, don't have people who are well-versed or well-skilled in this field because it's like new, so people are just trying to learn how to build frameworks and policies to govern the practice. So, but in spite of all this, what we've also seen there is that the potential is huge. The market opportunities is very huge because for West Africa, for example, it's just like a virgin ground where things have not really started. So we've seen opportunities around data center growth. Like in the past 4 months, we've seen about 4 data centers come on stream. So the need for data center is there within the market. So cloud provide that opportunity for enterprises or businesses who may have interest in building data centers to come in and create wealth for people and for businesses too. There is also opportunity for cloud service providers, of which Deloitte is one. So what this means is that you can play as an advisor, you can play as an implementer, or you can play as an operator where you are providing managed services to companies. Then companies can as well decide that we need to really leverage what this offers us to build different solutions, So there is also opportunity for internet access, which we've seen in the market as well, that these days, most workers or most people would want to work from home. So there is that need to connect the homes. So internet penetration will be one of the things that needs to be enhanced. So that creates a very huge opportunity for any business who may want to dive into providing internet access for to enable businesses within the region. Then it also provides opportunity for innovation, where you can leverage different technologies like AI or other cognitive technologies to build or manage your enterprise environment, or to design new products that will solve different customer needs. Then it can also help with, there's also opportunity for business process integration. So the scalability that cloud provides would always enable any business to be able to integrate different systems. So you can come in as a system integrator that enables businesses to have their processes streamlined, or when there is a merger and acquisition, for example, cloud would always provide an enabling environment for you to integrate disparate systems without having to worry, how do we go about this? Then it also enables innovation, which we all know that at this point is accelerating within the region. And aside this, there are a number of case studies that we would also want to share. One of them is the UK Global Bank subsidiary. So the bank wanted to realize benefits around cost savings because they had a major issue managing commodity servers. So they were looking at how do we drive down cost. So leveraging cloud, they were able to achieve that because cloud would always provide you pay-as-you-go option. You don't need to really own anything. Then for Starbucks, basically they generate a whole lot of data from their stores and their customer. So they were looking at how do we leverage the data we have to enrich our business and to also provide great experience for our customers. So they were able to leverage cloud to build personalized recommendation engines that targets customers based on their need. So another case study we have is the Permol Urban. Basically for them, their systems were disconnected, like in the traditional data center space or enterprise, you would always have siloed environment. So aggregating those data would always be a challenge. So what they did was to leverage cloud to make sure that those systems were aggregated and they were able to build solutions that at the end gave a good return on investment for the stakeholders. Another case study we've got is the US-based telecom company. So there was a kind of a merger and acquisition that happened. So they had to leverage cloud to build solutions that enable them innovate and build products that they were able to ship to the market at a very fast pace. So looking at cloud generally, it's about the on-demand delivery of IT resources over the internet with a pay-as-you-go pricing. And what that means is that you don't need to own anything. You don't need to think about how do I build my own data center. All you need to do is you can leverage cloud to provide either compute power or storage or databases as the case may be. So thanks for listening.
It isn't really about the cloud. It's about what cloud makes possible. Want to make your healthcare business, shipping business, or even city business an AI business? Cloud's power makes it possible. Want to manufacture on demand and know when a blizzard, a flu, and a tweet instantly change your ability to meet that demand? That's cloud efficiency. Tap IoT data to conserve water and grow more food. Unleash edge computing on LA traffic jams. Crowdsource code to prevent human trafficking. Agility, speed, cloud. At Deloitte, we see how cloud puts advanced technologies at the heart of your business and into the hands of your people. How it forces you to rethink the meaning of value and the measure of performance. How to have it up and transforming the way you work, even what you deliver, faster than you imagine, and in ways you never considered. We see your possible. And with cloud, we aim to make it your actual.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks very much, Romanus. So just a quick note to everyone online. We will have an interactive session shortly. So if you have questions, please use the Q&A window. Put in your comments, put in your questions. We'll get to that during the interactive session. All right. Thank you so much for the presentation on cloud. We'll go straight into the next tech trend area, which is data sharing. And speaking about data sharing, just to give a quick overview of data sharing, we'll be having Nina, who is one of our subject matter experts within data analytics to take the presentation. So for data sharing, new technologies give rise to innovative business models and products by simplifying the mechanics of data sharing across and between different organizations. And Kevin aptly spoke to this, especially how data sharing was able to contribute to development of a vaccine within record time, right? So we are seeing more and more opportunities within this space. And Nina will be able to shed more insight into how organizations, how we can practically leverage data sharing to derive business value. So Nina is a manager in our risk advisory division of Deloitte, with over 7 years of experience focusing on cyber and technology risk. My background is in computer engineering coupled with data analytics, right? So over the past few years, she's been involved in several implementation engagements, things around information security standards, and the others, right? So just before Nina continues, we have a video on data sharing, and then immediately after the video, we'll start Nina's presentation. Thank you.
To stay ahead of the competition, you need to improve operations and become more agile. You're going to need insights from many data sources, but data is no longer stationary. It's constantly in motion. Data in Motion by Deloitte connects the previously unconnected, fueling better decisions to maximize operations performance. With data in motion, you can identify and fix potential issues before they cause disruptions. Utilize just-in-time inventory signals sent to suppliers for dynamic part fulfillment. Provide information to crews so they have the right equipment for maintenance and repairs. Embrace AI and machine learning monitoring to make certain equipment is working as intended. And use early warning signals to inform field sales reps' interactions, supporting customers better. Data in Motion curates first and third-party data from a variety of streams and services to produce real-time information that can reduce waste, optimize operations, and decrease downtime. And because Deloitte uses a consortium approach, we find the best-in-class ecosystem partnerships for each engagement. When data feeds decisions, businesses can make better predictions and become less reactive. That's data in motion.
Amalia manages a business from her laptop.
Yeah, Nina, please, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. And I'm so happy for having me this morning to be able to share the data sharing method is trend in West Africa. I think over the years, we have seen or we have been considering data as a strategic asset. However, the potential of the data can only be unlocked when it's shared outside of the traditional silos. So what is the whole idea of data sharing made is, the whole idea is that now what we are seeing in the market is that it's the way that the information can be shared in real time, leveraging on various cloud-based technology. So if we are able to leverage on the technology that we have, like cloud, we'll be able to really tap into the full potential or the full opportunity of the data. But for the organization to be able to share the data in a way that preserves the security and privacy, which is more concern by everybody when it comes to share the information. The first question that we ask ourselves, oh, is the data going to be preserved or is the data going to be protected? So to be able to achieve that organization, we need also to adopt the technology that is called privacy preserving technology, such as homomorphic encryption. This technology, it allows you to encrypt your data and be able to share the encrypted data, and whoever have access to that data can perform analysis or can do competition without decrypting it first. So if organizations are able to do that, it means that the value of the data can now be leveraged on, and we can come up with various products and various business models. So what are the potential opportunities? For example, let's say that organization now, you can subscribe to the data sharing platform and you can just anonymize your data and sell it to other subscribers. On the other way, you can also buy the data from other subscribers and you can leverage on that data to come up with new products or even to improve the existing services that you have. So what is the message behind this new technology? So what we can take here is that as businesses, as leaders, I think it's now the time that we change our mindset, traditional mindset, which is don't share the data unless maybe something happened or unless you are obliged to share the data, and replace that mindset with must share the data unless. So you should be willing to share the data without necessarily being forced. So if you are able to do that, we'll see that people will now start monitoring their data, because we predict that in the next 18 to 24 months, as my colleague Kevin said, that we are going to see a lot of organizations pursuing the opportunity to monetize or expand their data. For instance, let's say in West Africa, we have seen some company, like in Ghana, there's an organization, a company called Isoko. What that company does, it goes all over the region of Accra. It will collect information on the farmers and about the price of, for instance, of the tomatoes, price of maybe onions, and they'll aggregate that data. Once they aggregate that data, they'll now share it to the farmers. So if you are based in region B and you want to come sell your product to region A, you have an idea how it's going to cost you, so you can take decision where you want to share or where you want to sell your product. So what we are seeing that in the next year, or even in the next 2 years, the company that will promote the data sharing, they will outperform their peers in most of business models. So what are some of the challenges that this technology comes with? So every technology comes with challenges. For instance, I mentioned earlier that organizations are adopting the technology, which is homomorphic, that will allow them to encrypt the data and share the data. So this technology, even though it helps organizations to reap the full benefit of data sharing without sacrificing the privacy, it has also a negative impact. So in terms of performance, you see that it will show the performance and the speed how the data should be processed. Another challenge that we are seeing, that all this technology, organization or whoever want to adopt it, they will need also to acquire new software tools, or they may need even to do some changes in the existing technology that they have. And you have seen the market that we don't have the requisite skills. So this is going to be a challenge, because once you want to adopt those extra software. So you need also to have the right skill to be able to get the full benefit of the technology that you are adopting. The third challenge is around enterprise businesses and also individual being concerned about how their data is being managed or who manages the data. So we have seen a lot of instances. For instance, I can give example in Ghana. During the election, the government asked that everybody should go out and register. And after few weeks, what we saw was all the information was all over the world. It was on social media. You could see my name, you could see my age, you could even see my ID. So if we see this kind of thing, it's like a challenge. People are not willing to share the data because you'll be concerned about the privacy and the data in the hand of someone else. Another challenge is around the government. So whoever is going to provide these services, data sharing as service, there need to be some framework. So as organization, before you can subscribe, you need to comply with some regulation and some best practice. So we see some certain challenge, as my colleague Egg said, that we don't have the requisite who are people or people who are more knowledgeable in developing this policy or developing this framework. Next slide, please. But however, there are still a lot of opportunity. So the first opportunity is around open banking. So open banking, so is a time as organization to open up. Don't see ourselves as enemies or competitors, even if we are competitors. Yes, there are still a lot of challenge, there are still a lot of opportunity. If we come together, we can be able to solve by sharing our data. So I can give example, maybe those who are in financial institution. You can come together, every organization can anonymize their data, and you can bring all data together, and you can analyze it. You can even be able to come up with some product or some services that can benefit your customer, or you can even come up with, for instance, with an interbank credit scoring system that will benefit everybody. So another opportunity that we see is around the increased efficiency and cost reduction. So what does this mean? It means that once you adopt this technology, you don't need to worry about acquiring or maintaining the infrastructure. So what you have to do is just to subscribe, and you share your data, and this is just telling you that the cost that you could have used by maintaining this hardware, you can maybe use it to do other things. So another opportunity is around industry collecting collaboration. As I said earlier, it's time that organizations will come together and share our data and try to create or understand what is going into our industry. If you are maybe in telecom industry, you can come together, all the players, and share the data, knowing very well that your data now is anonymized. I cannot tell that this data is for Vodafone or is for MTN. You can come together and analyze that data and come up with a variety of innovative products. The last opportunity is around government contribution. So because this new technology, they involve the privacy and the security. So the government need also to protect the privacy of the information that is being shared among all these various players. So we are going to see a lot of framework, a lot of regulation out that everyone that want to adopt this technology will have to comply. And if we are able to comply, it's even going to benefit us because we are no more going to see data or keep our data that we can generate a lot of information, we can generate a lot of revenue into it instead of locking it into the service that we have now, we can be willing to share it with others and create a lot of value and create a lot of opportunity out of the data. So we do have, next slide. So we do have case studies that we have seen all over the world, but we just want to mention a few. So for instance, there is a case for Barclays Bank where they were trying to develop some standard, but in doing so, they noticed that there is a lot of opportunity for them that they can make a lot of money, or they can monetize their data for others to be able to benefit to the information that they have. So what they did was now to give API to others, whoever want, so the people can connect to that anonymized data, and they were able to come up with new product. So you see that now the data that you have, you can unlock it for the benefit for others. So in general, what I want to say is that the change that we are seeing now is similar how the internet unlock access to information. So it's up to us that if we have the ability to collaborate and operate in a safe or compliant and trusted way with data, we are going to see, or is going to bring up unlock a lot of opportunities for businesses. So what I encourage everybody now is to go and look at the data that you have logged in your service or somewhere, and think about others. Think that with your data you can make impact, and think that your data can help someone else outside. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Nina, for that wonderful presentation. Okay, so now we'll go into an interactive session. For the next 10 minutes thereabouts, we want to hear from people in the room. We would also like to hear from people that are currently on Zoom. We've said a lot about cloud and how we should increase our cloud adoption, and how we see more and more organizations within West Africa getting more value from cloud. We just had Nina talk about data sharing. So practically, what are the specific things that we believe we can do? We also want to be able to hear from us, for those of us that are online that have already started our journey towards cloud adoption, started our journey towards data sharing. We know several organizations very much big on API monetization and the likes, right? But we want to be able to. So to do that, for those of us online, before we come to the room, before we come to those in the room, we have a QR code because we want this to be as interactive as possible. So please scan the QR code you can see on your screen. It will take you to a tool, right? So please scan the QR. Let's have the QR code up. All right, so please scan the QR code. Once you scan the QR code, it will take you to a page, and we'll share that page shortly. So we need the next 30 seconds. Please, for those of us online, we want to ensure that we have as much interaction as possible. So next 30 seconds, for those of us online, let's scan the QR code. The QR code would enable us to be able to, put in our comments, put in our questions, and pretty much to be able to hear from us. So we want to talk, have practical conversations around how we can adopt cloud, how we can adopt data sharing, some of the challenges we faced in the process, and the way we can pretty much get to improve in these areas. Okay, so I believe we can take this down in about 10 seconds. So for those that are yet to scan, also if you're unable to scan, please you can use the link on the slide. It's ourslides.com/WATech. So just to confirm the URL, can you put up the QR code again? That's ourslides.com/WATech. That can scan the QR code. And for those that can scan the QR code, please just scan the QR code and to take you to the platform right away. Okay, So let's put up the view from the web platform. All right, so while we are doing that, we'd like to hear practically from those of us in the room. And I will say in about 2 to 3 minutes, just to hear from the Chief Information Officer from Sterling Bank, Mr. Yinka Oni, just to take us through Chief Digital Officer, apologies, the Chief Digital Officer. The Chief Digital Officer, just to hear again, talk us through your cloud journey. Yeah, please, you can have your seats. Talk us through your cloud journey, talk us through some of the challenges you experienced, and also talk about data sharing and and the experience so far. All right. At the same time, for those of us online, please let us, type in our comments. We'll come back to, to read out your comments. If you have questions, please type out your questions. We would come back to that. All right, so you. Good.
Thank you. I joined Sterling Bank 2016, and I think I joined when a major transformation was just about ending. We just switched our core banking from basis, banks as we call it, to T24. And at that time, we really didn't have any touch points, basically, except maybe people being able to use cards. And as we were thinking about going on that journey, it was clear that the kind of strategic ambition we had, we were not going to be able to innovate as fast as we wanted if we were going to go the traditional way of on-the-prem. At that time when I joined was also the time when the bank also kind of crafted a strategy that had 3 tripods. And the 3 tripods or pillars of that strategy was, first it was about agility. Okay. Now, for a bank of our size, I think we thought that one of the advantage we have when we look at our comparative advantage was that at least we did not have a challenge in terms of maybe decision making and being able to quickly decide to do things, move away from doing it. And we thought that was some strength that we wanted to encourage. So agility became one of the things we wanted to embrace in the way we took decisions. The second part of that was we had crafted that we wanted to focus on 5 sectors. We call the art of Sterling, basically health, education, agric, renewable energy, and transportation. And for that, we thought that the only way as bankers we could do that was to focus on specialization. So we actually decided, you know what, let's start to bring and assemble people who may not be your traditional bankers, but basically focus in those sectors. So specialization became one of those. And I think the last piece of it was that, how would we do all of these things? It was that you have to be digital. So the last piece of that for us was digitization. And as we decided, the only way we can leapfrog or at least remain alive is to go the digital route. It was also clear that the only way we could do digital was to be cloud first. Okay. So we decided that, everything we wanted to do on the digital agenda must be cloud first. So when we decided that in agric, for example, we wanted to address commodity trading, and the idea was to say people, aggregators of agric, should be able to bring that into a warehouse. And traditional bankers will probably do warehouse financing. The challenge you have with warehouse financing, obviously, is someone would probably have to constantly be there, wanting to enforce that the person doesn't do anything with that stock. But you know what, if you could actually then digitize that certificate, so to speak, and ensure that that certificate is not something that anyone single-handedly can change, which brought about, the way to do that is there's a technology piece out there. It's called blockchain. Yeah. Let's basically tokenize the certificates that obviously controls the asset within the warehouse. And without that, you cannot necessarily do anything on that asset as it were. And of course, because we have said we have to be cloud first, it was easy to gravitate to say, okay, well, let's do this, even if nobody is necessarily already doing blockchain. Yeah. We can't find a vertical use for blockchain within wanting to solve for agric and obviously addressing the digital agenda, as it were. So what were the challenges? Of course, you start to wonder about, okay, some of these things, what's the position of the regulator about some of these things? Yep. So herein is the point of, okay, data residency. You obviously have to worry about where does the customer's data reside. So we took a view that anyway, the customer data comes to rest in the core banking. So if we're not able to necessarily do anything about the core banking at this stage because of regulation, we can at least do something about the touch points where obviously it's just transient data that gets to go and sit within the core banking itself as a place of rest. So it was easy to say, okay, well, the channels are all in the cloud, wherein the core banking is sitting with the data center itself. We wanted to also solve for business continuity. As we're thinking about solving for business continuity and resilience, it was clear that, yeah, the CBN says do a tier 3 data center, do a backup of that in a disaster recovery site. But you know what? We decided that most of what will be our resilience around customer dependency, we will put in the cloud. So as we build the touch points into the cloud, we're going to be thinking about resilience or business continuity from that standpoint. So whether it's a case of put something in the cloud, putting geo-redundancy to say this is sitting within maybe a Europe cloud, for example, but it's geo-replicated to some other environment that is not necessarily Europe, as it were. And it's obviously a tick the box of I'm not necessarily violating the requirements of the regulation, as it were. The bigger question then again is, can you be this bullish when you also worry about security? We took a view from an agility standpoint that, well, we cannot outspend the providers on security. They're not 100% secured. We're also never going to be 100% secured. But we think that their maturity and their spend will probably definitely outpace ours. So it's okay to take on their security. Of course, think about other redundancies that may compensate for that. And I think the other challenge to worry about is skill. A lot of that is we then decided, okay, where are the skills in small pockets, and maybe start to find those skills, or also leverage external dependency for those skills to augment the ones you don't have. So either integrators who can help or support, as it were. So take, for example, we wanted to do RP. We really didn't have any RP. It's what brought us to Deloitte to say, obviously, we need to be able to augment that. So again, the point of partnerships. You may find that the skills can only be solved by partnership because you cannot necessarily find all of the skill or hold on to all the skills. Myself and a partner, Deloitte, were talking just before this event starts about the challenge we all have with talents today. Even when they are not leaving the country and they are working in Nigeria, they are remotely working for some other countries outside of the country. So that challenge is always there. Sometimes the only way to necessarily do that is to either build strong partnership or alliances that can allow you to be able to take that, as it were. But the challenges are all there. On the flip side, I think for us, the advantage has been very much a payoff, as it were. So either it is the fact that we're become a home of brands where we've been able to innovate around several solutions, as it were, or the fact that we've been very aggressive about, pushing API collaboration and integrations with all fintechs and partnership in that space, as it were, or even around the fact that there are things today that you cannot think about doing if you do not have the scale and the agility that the cloud provides. So for example, the many touch points that we all have about connectedness today, you cannot do fraud management or prevention. Without the cloud, it's just not possible. So when we started to think about the cloud, it was always clear that the only way to do fraud analytics was going to be in the cloud, as it were, and being able to leverage machine learning and move away from rule-based fraud management tools, as it were. So on the flip side of all of the challenge, I think the payoff is quite huge, and it's clearly there that it's just the way to go, so to speak.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks so much for that. Yeah, can I have your seat? All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. I covered several things, and thank you so much. Just quickly go back to the online view, right? So once we're able to read out some of the comments and questions that you shared. Again, for those that would like to quickly drop their comments, this is the QR code. We'll just leave this up for about 10. Okay, please scan the QR code. All right, so we have a few comments. I think there are some nice data sharing applications in FSI. It's a way to enable cross-selling and upselling across enterprises with mutual benefits to all in the value chain. Thank you very much for that. So the question is, how can your organization or industry leverage data sharing capabilities and the cloud to drive business value? And one particular area I think someone mentioned is around identity verification. Another person is speaking about collaboration, which Sayinka only just alluded to in terms of our partnership was crucial for them on their journey. Okay, I'll just quickly read out a few other comments, and then we'll go straight to the next tech trend. So we said there's a comment here about having a storage location where all staff of the organization can have access to. This will enable quick information dissemination, decision-making, and output. Fantastic. Comment around leveraging data for big data processing and analytics, and being able to leverage data, being able to leverage cloud to promote more exponential technology research and development. And I think another interesting comment about being able to get transaction data to determine customer spending habits and be able to use the same to suggest, tips and prompts, so, core frivolous, spending. These are very fantastic, ideas. And it's really good to know that, we've been able to contribute. Again, we'd like us to be able to contribute more. I think we got just 8 comments, and we know we have a lot of people online. So please, as much as possible, we'd like you to be able to, drop your comments. Even after we move to the next one, if you still have some comments, you can do that. And if you have questions as well, we'll do that. So we have one more interactive session before the end of today. All right, so we move straight to the next tech trend topic, which is around blockchain. And talking about blockchain, we are saying that blockchain and other distributed ledger technology platforms are fundamentally changing the way and nature of doing business. The CD of Stellenberg just talked about them being able to leverage blockchain in a Greek, right? And I think it's clear that there are several use cases when you go to talk about things around smart contracts and the likes, right? But I would not get into Wally's presentation. All right, so I'll quickly introduce Wally. Wally will take us through the blockchain tech trend area. Wally is a partner and serves as our enterprise technology and performance leader, and is also the TMT industry leader for Deloitte in West Africa. Over 22 years of experience, where he's been able to work with clients, understand technical solutions, and solve business problems. He's a certified Scrum Master, certified digital maturity model professional, and he holds several other certifications. He's a seasoned agile coach, and a founding member of the Governing Council of Fintech Association of Nigeria. So watch a video on blockchain, and then afterwards, Wale would come up. Thank you.
Blockchain is a technology that is changing the rules. You know it's revolutionary, but do you know where the opportunities are for your business? Put at its simplest, blockchain is a community-based technology that enables the safe exchange of value. A blockchain, as the name suggests, is nothing more than an ever-lengthening chain of blocks of data.
Each block contains a record of a change or transaction that is locked in chronological order and secured by cryptography. The important point is that if something is recorded on a blockchain, it's deemed by users to be true. This group verification removes the requirement for middlemen or intermediaries. Anyone can access the record to verify that a transaction took place. Quite literally, the blockchain is strength in numbers. But what does this mean for you? Blockchain can enable self-activating smart contracts, which means if a flight is delayed, passenger details are updated on a blockchain record, automatically triggering an insurance payment. It means robust yet flexible data storage, such as smart IDs, where driving licenses or passports can be confidently digitized into a single, versatile record. This record facilitates fast and easy onboarding and resists compromise. It means safe value transfer. This allows for property deeds to be transferred with ease, without the need for a third party. From banking, investment management, insurance, and the public sector, blockchain offers a world of opportunity. Together we can discover, design, and develop groundbreaking solutions. Deloitte Grid Blockchain Lab, unlocking potential together.
Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. And for those of you who are online, it's also a pleasure to have you. It's going to be a very interesting conversation, and I'm looking forward to the section after when you have to give in your questions, comments, and other things. The Q&A box is available, just so you're aware. Let's now hit it. Blockchain. The fundamental idea of blockchain is secure, resilient, distributed, and irrefutable storage of value. Essentially, blockchain has been described as the internet of value, essentially. And anybody who's heard anything about the latest NFT craze will see how, yes, I can see you laughing there. We'll see how dramatically that has become quite literal, in terms of how value is stored, transmitted, and rendered. Now, in terms of the way the trends have played out, blockchain is ready for business insights today. The focus right now is on humans. So we're talking of using blockchain type technology beyond conventional, traditional use cases of cryptocurrency, which is what you ordinarily would have thought of if you think of blockchain. Talking about identity, data, brand provenance, how do you control and regulate your brand, certifications, copyrights, anything that can be digitized and is of value is getting more and more into the blockchain field. And there are a lot of opportunities that happen, in terms of where there are intersections between organizations, entities, and individuals. Prior to now, where you have centralized authorities like a central bank, for example, or a financial regulator or other such that intermediates between parties, the blockchain is actually able to step in as a kind of decentralized trust to stand in the place of what a regulator would have arbitrated vis-a-vis transactions facilitated between counterparties. And what that does is using more and more of that, especially when the government is now standing up blockchain solutions, it creates more trust, within the government systems. There are several, applications: finance, energy, insurtech, agric, even self-sovereign identity. When you talk about digital identities, healthcare applications, when you have to securely store irrefutable data, managing supply logistics, information across the globe instantaneously between counterparties being exchanged, contract documents, and so on, and NFTs. Non-fungible tokens, which are basically a digital record of an asset, usually an image or an artwork or a video production, that because blockchain is irrefutable, secure, and is essentially a certification of validity, you are able to create an asset on it that is unique to you, attach a price, which people can then bid on and make money. And people have actually made hundreds of millions of dollars trading NFTs because of the ability to have a digital asset that is uniquely yours, even if you can Google the same image 1 million times on Google. But the one on Google is not yours. The right to the one on the NFT is. That's what people are claiming. And people even have land on NFTs right now. But I won't talk about NFTs too much in this discussion. Now, the good old blockchain use case was Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the first use case for blockchain when it first came on board. And looking at the trade in Africa now, we can see, we know the daddy of all of them is Nigeria, as far as volume of trading in Bitcoin is concerned. So what we understand is that, blockchain is here, ready for business. Other use cases are being created. In Ghana, they have a regulatory sandbox that is used to allow testing of blockchain solutions, merchant payments, and so on. In Nigeria, we have a blockchain hub. Connect City was launched in Abuja that's intended to encourage innovation in creating solutions. And we have a whole bunch of value that is slowly being unlocked in that regard. Now, that doesn't mean that this blockchain story is completely sweet. There are a few challenges. Next slide. Data protection laws, need to be enforced, a lot more in terms of using this shared technology called blockchain. And what that means is that we need to have a primary focus on privacy, on security, rather than just the free-for-all that is currently existing in the way blockchain is being used. We also have a scarcity of capacity. We don't have that many blockchain developers, and we need to have a lot more of them to enhance solutioning. Let's look at a scenario where Nigeria was trying to and attempting to build a digital currency that has been launched now, the e-Naira. We had to go to the Caribbeans to get skills from a company to help Nigeria build a sovereign currency. If we had the skills, we would have been able to do a lot more of that locally. I don't know how much we are still building on that. So that's a challenge. And again, regulation is all over the place. Are you regulating blockchain itself? Are you regulating the blockchain use cases? I've heard the pronouncements saying, well, blockchain is a technology like any other technology. You don't have to regulate it. But I hear other instances saying, no, you have to regulate the use of blockchain, even though you don't regulate it itself. It's still all over the place. So the best way to deal it is to create sandboxes, experiment, and see what comes out. And then you can, on the back of innovation, create that. But until then, investments in blockchain are being hampered by unclarity. What is this going to look like? There are potential legal issues in the use of blockchain, especially if you want to use it for smart contracts. The question is, do our laws recognize digital contracts at all? If they don't, then is a smart contract legally enforceable? All those kinds of questions need to be answered before you can get the tremendous value you need to get. But still, despite that, we are going ahead in the region to unlock value in blockchain. Next slide. Some of the opportunities, we've leveraged digital currency opportunity right here, in Nigeria with our e-Naira platform. And that's from a regulatory perspective. And from traditional, conventional blockchain, we have parties, fintechs, that are actually doing remittances and other such transactions via digital currency platforms on the blockchain. So that is currently active within the region. Smart contracts, we also have some records being created now on the blockchain platforms to enable control of interactions between counterparties. Identity management is an opportunity which hasn't been leveraged here. I, for one, think our national identity should be on the blockchain, but that's my own opinion. But that being said, it is a valid opportunity, and it can connect to things like voting. Because the idea of an irrefutable record that is transparent is the holy grail for elections. Now, I will not comment on whether it's going to be palatable to all stakeholders involved, but it is a valid use case that is being explored all over the world. Copyright management, that idea of this is mine and nobody else's, that is what blockchain was built for, because it is actually irrefutable in terms of who put what, when, where. If a different entity putting into a blockchain thereafter shows a timestamp saying, nope, I was here first, I registered this. So things like patents, where you have to have a patent agency doing all kinds of work, a blockchain can stand in and say, hey, this is the first person to register this. The record is there and no one can change it. And then land management. We actually have land registries being created, not exactly locally right now, but it's something that is on the cards, whereby you can have the right of ownership, title deeds, C of O's, those type of things, also on a blockchain. So there isn't any dispute because the system is trusted and is able to maintain a secure record that is irrefutable. So finally, case studies. Sure Remit is one of the prime case studies where crypto token is being used to facilitate remittances. What are remittances? We have immigrants in quotes, which is what our people locally are described when we are in other countries, like in the US, Canada, and so on, sending money back to us here locally via blockchain-based platforms like Sure Remit. And what that does is that you're able to avoid the cost of traditional money transfer services. These are much cheaper, they are much faster, and you actually are able to, and I won't say it so loudly, but create more efficiency in how you manage the regulation around how those remittances come in. When the Nigerian government made some pronouncements about bank accounts running crypto, one observation was an apparent reduction in foreign remittances into Nigeria. I don't know if anybody noticed that. There was no reduction in remittances. The platforms moved. That's all that happened. That's all that it was. More of it went into blockchain-based platforms that are not as transparent or visible. So an adoption of these things, like platforms like Sure Remit have legitimized, will help even governments in West Africa recognize more of what is actually happening and see opportunities for itself. And I think we see that with the CBDC coming on and other ideas around blockchain, like the custom service is using blockchain for some records keeping at the moment, right here in Nigeria. So we have medical applications like MedPing, where blockchain technology, is being used to exchange critical medical information that is irrefutable, immutable, and is a permanent record. We have a company like Chow Tai Fook. They trade in diamonds and data recording via such access points. And what they do is create secure ways of transferring that information that is recorded in these diamonds via blockchain. Then Elchris, they are providing a platform similar to GitHub. GitHub is a hosting platform for developers of solutions. So Elchris is using blockchain, to make sure that when you are doing a project together with developers across different organizations, entities, and across the globe, you're able to enforce trust in terms of who put what in, when, how, and why, and who owns which aspect of the code, and how do we make sure that when the final product comes out, there is no debate as to, okay, so I'm the owner. No, you are not. No, we did this 20%, 30%, and so on. Those kind of debates are avoided with a platform like an Elchris that enforces the records of collaboration and sharing because of the trust that blockchain platforms build. So looking into the future, blockchain is not something that is futuristic. It is reality today. We've lived with it for a long time. Governments are beginning to adopt blockchain solutions. Businesses are beginning to incorporate more of it into the way they operate and run. Individuals are creating value for themselves, NFTs. All of this essentially demonstrates that if you are not thinking about how blockchain can help you today, you should. You need to really consider what the possible use cases are and look at opportunities you can unlock value for yourself and create the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Wale, for that presentation. Okay. NFTs. All right, so we'll go straight into the fourth tech trend area, which is around IT disrupt thyself with a focus on automation. Okay, would have, yeah, but we can give your comments, but we'll also have an interactive session in about 15 minutes where we'll talk about blockchain and IT disrupt thyself. All right, so let's get your comments, please. So we'll get your comments, but then would address it during the interactive session so that we can take a note of it. Yeah, please just pass this. We can get your comments now, but we'll address it during the interactive session.
Oh,
Thank you.
Right. Okay, thank you very much. My name is Femi, CIO at Greenwich Merchant Bank. I was of the opinion that Deloitte, being who you are, you will have interacted with the regulators and given them some insights of the value of blockchain. What we see is that the regulators are not staying ahead. They are just reacting, to situations. And when they react like that, he alluded to something here which I find very valuable, which I never even thought of. I recall that CBN kept on saying remittances, to Nigeria is about, in the worth of $25 billion, dollars or something, some huge, some astronomical, figure. Then all of a sudden, after they clamped down on cryptocurrency, like he alluded to, that volume dropped dramatically to something, very minimal. So we kept on wondering what exactly, is going on. So that means, you have insights, but probably you are not sharing it with the regulators, so that they understand clearly that, look, you can't be reacting to some of these things. You need to be ahead of it. You need to. So Deloitte being who you are, you guys should quickly engage, because we are seeing value being eroded, as a country and as a nation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that comment. All right. So as I said, we'll have more discussions around that during the interactive session, which we'll get into in about 10, 15 minutes thereabouts. All right. Thank you. Okay. So back to, after disrupting ourselves, back to automation. Right. So again, we'll be speaking about automation, how to disrupt, our processes, IT back office processes, and some other processes. We'll talk through some of the challenges and opportunities within this space. To take this presentation is Toby Musa. Toby is a manager in enterprise technology team, where he's responsible for IT, digital strategy, is a seasoned technology professional with over 10 years experience across FSI, telecoms, and several other industries. So just before Toby would take the stage, we'll have a video on this particular team, and then afterwards, Toby would come up. Thank you.
Companies today are looking for innovative options to streamline tasks and increase Companies today are looking for innovative options to streamline tasks and increase efficiency across their organization in all departments. By implementing robotic or cognitive automation, human tasks and judgment can be replicated at rapid speed and considerable scale. Plus, robotic or cognitive
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much for having me here. It's been a wonderful session so far. I'm sure we've learned a lot from the previous speakers. But before I get right into it, I always say the pace at which we react to things this period is quite very high, and the business is demanding a lot of things from the IT department to churn out automations rapidly. And the only way you can do that is to disrupt the existing processes that you run currently within your bank or within the different organizations in which you represent. And for us to do that, we need to first of all look at the holistic view coming from the infrastructure point of view, because what I've seen in the industry, particularly the FSI, is that we want to move based on the fact that other competitors within our industry space are moving as well, but we are not looking back at what we have if it's able to support the automation in which we want to run. We find ourselves in a situation whereby we're running infrastructure that is not able to support the automation journey that we want to embark on, which on the long run, you end up spending monies that you're not getting value for, and that is what has been a trend. But at the end of this presentation, I hope we'll be able to get some insight as to how we tend to disrupt our IT environment. Today, feature forward IT organizations are modernizing the IT back office to a proactive model of self-service and engineered automation. What that's telling us is that you're able to, before you can serve your customers rapidly, you need to first of all automate what you have internally first, then go out to automate processes for your customers to be able to react to the business options that you're providing to them. And automation will be key to the West Africa digital success story, enabling velocity. So in order for us to enable velocity and consistency, we need to be able to take automation as one of the forefront activity that we need to deal with. And leading CIOs have begun to rethink the way IT organizations work, shifting from the scaling up existing infrastructure to adoption of new emerging technologies. And for the purpose of this presentation this morning, I'll be focusing more on RPA, which is robotic process automations, where you'll be able to sort of shift your employees to more valued activities as opposed to moving to redundant activities like repeated businesses that they get to do almost every day. So you get them to do more meaningful things and let the robots take care of all the redundant activities that you have within your organization. And the future of IT in West Africa is what Deloitte has helped companies do. And today, we're currently doing a lot of implementations in RPA in which the success stories are actually second to none. And from the survey we conducted recently, survey of IT and engineering leaders, 74 reported more workforce efficiency without automation using the robotic process automation. And 50%, sorry, can you move to the previous slide, please? And 50% reported cost reduction up to 30% in means to have embraced process automation. So what this tells us in summary is that the time to actually disrupt is now, and we cannot afford to miss the journey, because after this RPA traditional automation, there's going to be more adoption of AI infused with RPA, and also the machine learning being adopted across the West African market. Can you please move to the next slide? So this is just an insight as to what we have currently within the RPA globally. So 53% of organizations have embarked on the RPA journey, right? 72% of organizations are expected to adopt RPA in the next 2 years. This is just giving us insights as to what is currently obtainable within the market globally. 78% of those who have already implemented RPA expect to significantly increase their investment over the next 3 years. What that tells us is that once you implemented RPA, 1, 2, 3 processes, then begin to delve further into all the redundant processes that are within the bank in which you can use RPA to automate. Then only 3% of organizations have scaled their digital workforce. So what that tells us is that only 3% have been able to fully digitize their entire workforce within their organization space. And in the next 5 years, RPA is expected to achieve near universal adoption. So that tells us something that in the next 5 years, almost all the organizations that we have around the world will have a thing or two to do with RPA. So why would you want to be left behind on that automation journey? $2.3 billion enterprise RPA spend. That's a full year 2019. That's a lot of money being spent on RPA. And projected in the next 2 years is about $11.1 billion. That's actually some huge cost to maintain an RPA, because they actually know the value that they realize from the RPA automation. And part of the benefits of RPA is increase in compliance. So we have situations whereby you're trying to meet up with, say, Nigeria, for instance, CBN reports that are supposed to go out on a particular day, and you have humans treating them. What you can do is delegate all of those activities to the robots. Robots will go to the particular portal or the particular location where the reports have been generated, and they'll treat those reports the way the human that worked on them treats those reports, and they'll submit to CBN if you want them to also send an email as well. So you improve the quality accuracy. I mean, part of why we employ robots in the first place is to help us sort of give credence to any report or any activity that we're working on. So when you tell a robot, do this, there's no reason for the robot to do otherwise, because it has learned that this is what your expectations are, and it's going to move in line with that particular activity. So it's going to help us improve productivity as well. People can now focus on more valued activities as opposed to doing mundane things that they do almost every day. And it's going to help us with cost reduction along with. Part of the cost reduction benefits is that RPA is able to move to 3 or 4 different applications at a time. And for applications that you have internally that you get to pay per user license for, RPA is able to go into those different applications, consolidate instead of paying humans for licenses for accessing those applications. RPA will use one login to get into all those applications, and you don't get to spend so much money on those other applications as well. Can we move to the next slide quickly? So part of the challenges we face, they're quite enormous, but these are just a few of them that we've seen. Industrial policies, taking FSI for instance, you have maybe CBN requesting for a report, and they're expecting to see, because RPA is able to do a maker checker, right? So when you send a request to a particular human to approve, RPA can actually make that person approve and move to the next person also to approve as well. So I know some reports with CBN, they'll say, oh, there has to be someone else's name. So that's about the challenges that some industries face, and they say, oh no, we can't move forward with RPA automation. We need to sort of sort this out before we can go forward. Limited infrastructure as well. Like I mentioned earlier, we need to look inwards. What kind of infrastructure are we running? Is it able to support the automation journey that we're about to embark on? If it does, then we can move forward. But if it doesn't, we need to look back and fix that first before we go forward. I'm sure my colleagues have done justice to the cloud adoption already in the market. Skilled workers availability. I was very happy when Mr. Yinka Oni was talking about the skilled worker availability. Because first question you ask yourself is, do I have people to support these processes after they've been developed? How do I scale up after these applications have been developed? And those are the questions we ask before you embark on those automation journey, which is why you need to put the skilled workers in place. If you don't have, that's why our partners like Deloitte to help with automation journey. And what will also help you do is to build a center of excellence around your staff. So we teach them how to support these applications. Also join us during the development of all of these processes so that they're able to build competence over time on these processes that have been developed and be able to scale up more on other processes. Then public sentiment, this is one I get a lot. People say the robots, are they humans? Are you going to plug the humans, are we going to plug the robots physically within our environment, or are we going to carry the robot beside me when I'm working, the robot to help me type one or two things? But no. So these are codes, right, that have been developed that would act like humans. So we try to sensitize people, and when we go to any environment during implementation, there's a lot of focus on change management, where we do communication across the enterprise to sort of help people understand what we're trying to do, and we're not trying to take your job to start with. Also, to let them know that this is supposed to assist you to do your job better, and so that you can focus on more important items that you have on your list per day. Then economic viability. So organizations ask themselves, is it viable economically for me to invest in this? What's the return on investment? What's the profit, right? So part of what we do is to help you a value realization framework to sort of show you what you intend to gain if you go on the automation journey using RPA, so that you're able to see the value over 2-3 years. You're able to see what is to come to the organization. So to get this done, I mean, you need to react better, you need to move faster, and also get better value at a cheaper cost, basically. So these are the opportunities that we've seen so far within the financial service industry in particular that we worked in. So the opportunity is to basically high value transaction processes, reduce the average time allocated to processes by 60%, from 20% to 60% on the average. Then enables processes to be executed approximately 15 times faster than humans. Like we know, there are some processes that you have to run overnight, right, before you go home. So what robots do for you is they work 24 hours. There are some processes that you run per day. There are some processes that run 10 minutes per day. Some run 5 to 30 minutes per day. So instead of humans having to go to those particular environments to go around those processes, the bots will do that job, and it's going to move 15 times faster than the humans, and the output of that particular process is actually more accurate than what the humans will have to deal with. High-risk processes with multiple handoffs. There are some processes that you want to do within the bank that you have to interact with like 5 or 6 different applications to get that job done. What RPA does for you is that it goes to those different applications, like I mentioned earlier with the user license analogy. It goes in there, does what it needs to do. It needs to pick up reports from 3 to 5 different applications. It puts those reports in a particular location, and it treats them like it should usually be treated by the humans, if the humans are working on them. And you see the results for that particular exercise. So part of the benefits is the increase in revenue. That's for the high volume transaction processes, cost reduction. For the high-risk process, multiple handoffs, the cost avoidance, which I explained earlier, with having to pay multiple licenses for users, and also cost reduction as well. Also data validation processes. This is where we get a lot of errors. I'm sure some of us within the financial service industry, we get double debit sometimes, some we get double credit sometimes. Those are the kind of errors that humans get to deal with every other day. But with RPA, once you tell the bot that based on this transaction, post it. If there's going to be a failure in the transaction, do not post. Again, that's what the bot is just going to do. There will not be any error of double credits or multiple debits at any point in time. And it helps us increase revenue because we avoid revenue loss, and also cost avoidance as well, having to pay for every transaction, you pay NIBs for every transaction. So if you're having to do reversal as well, there's some cost that are attached to it. Then they're dependent on limited, on linked processes. So you have some processes that are being linked together that the bot is able to help you decrease the processing time, the speed, by up to 3%. By enabling the process to be executed outside the standard business hours. So you don't have to keep people in your office hours till 1 a.m. to be able to do some particular processes. There's a process called garnishing process where you sort of, let me use PayDirect for instance. So you do transaction, then you have a failed transaction and you're supposed to do reconciliation, right? And maybe you did transaction at 10 p.m. in the night and everybody's gone on within the bank. Nobody's going to help you with your reversal or any reconciliation process treatment. So what happens with the bot is, bots will run. If you say the bot should go to the PayDirect portal by 2 a.m., it's going to go to that portal by 2 a.m., pick up those failed transactions, treat them, then it's able to also post to the core banking so that the customers can get value for their transaction that was failed. So that's the opportunity we've seen. And part of the case studies, we have numerous case studies, particularly in West Africa. We're just going to pick some of the ones we've done globally. This Muzo Financial Group Incorporation is in Japan. It's a financial service institution in Japan, one of the biggest. What they're trying to do is to pursue operational excellence. So they're expected to get improvement in implementation of RPA, which they did after the implementation. And part of the benefits that was realized was that using non-office hours, like I mentioned, they put some of the automation around the processes that they were going to need people to stay in the office for, while the robots will be the ones doing the job. They move quality and processing speed, right? And the promoting installation as well of all the processes that they've done and observing efficiencies in other systems. So shifting to high-valued work. So people, they're able to delegate their staff to more important activities and let the bots handle the mundane and the repeated activities that has been done. Likewise, the Olympus Corporation as well. They were trying to do a smart automation project. Was trying to do an end-to-end smart automation project for their order to cash process, and they used RPA to do that, and the bot was able to help them achieve that. So the target operating model for the smart operation model program was done using RPA, and those are part of the benefits. So we have these 4 use cases, but because of time, I'm just going to stop on the 2. And in summary, the world is moving fast-paced now. We need to be able to react to the way we've been responding to these multiple requests that's coming from business and customers. And in order for us to do that, we need to be able to disrupt the way we currently run our environment and be able to adopt automation, particularly RPA that is helping streamline processes in order to get value for what we're doing internally. Thank you very much for your time.
All right. Thank you very much, Toby. Toby, can you come back up? So we're about to get into the interactive session, right? So you can just have your seats. Wale, please, can you also come up? For the next 5 minutes, we'll quickly, talk through, practical, how organizations can practically leverage blockchain and intelligent automation, right? Thank you. All right, and again, for those of us online, please let's put up the QR code. It's the same link, so if you did not close your browser, you can just open it up again and it will navigate you to the page where you can drop your comment and questions. But for those of us that already closed our browser, please just scan the QR code or go to our slides.com/WATech. Please, we'd like to get your comments, we'd like to get your questions, and we'll have our panelists, talk through some of those questions. So, but to start off with, so there's a question around our role in terms of engaging regulators, especially when it comes to blockchain. So, what did you want to quickly respond to that?
So let me just jump on that immediately. One of the items that was mentioned in my profile is being on the governing council of the Fintech Association of Nigeria. Because one thing we've discovered is that as far as engaging regulators are concerned, a strong united voice is a lot more effective than a lone voice. So what I have done working with the association, which consists of over 300 fintechs and other interested stakeholders in Nigeria, is that contributed to the producing of an exposure draft on how crypto and blockchain should actually be managed within Nigeria, which has been presented several times to the regulator. There has been interest, especially from the CBN, to try and see how some of these concepts can be adopted. And that's the vehicle, through which we have been able to apply some pressure to get things done. The association has a quarterly forum called Regulators, where we engage with all the key regulators that impact fintech, stock exchange, SEC, NSC, CBN, NIBS, all of them in a room saying, okay, this is the state of affairs, this is where we are, how do we make this better? So that's how we are contributing, because Deloitte alone, going to say CBN, think about this, it doesn't have as strong a voice as Deloitte and 300 other voices, essentially. That being said, the regulator, we can't hold brief for the regulators. They have to make their own decisions based on factors known and maybe unknown. And but the truth of it is that, and I'm going to use a very bad example to illustrate this. The truth is that no matter how much noise a regulator makes or how many measures it puts in place, we will vote with our feet in terms of what we want to do. The bad example is MMM. Everybody knew that that thing was wrong, but the groundswell, I understand the total value that was invested in that scheme was in excess of 18 billion naira in less than a year, with over 3 million subscribers to the platform. I mean, I don't know of any new entity that will rise that will be able to create that kind of asset value and customer profile growth within a year. But the truth is that when an opportunity is seen, irrespective of what regulators say, Nigerians and others in our region will jump on it. But the important message in there is that the groundswell cannot be ignored, and it can be leveraged for good once we're able to have players in the ecosystem putting truly valid, valuable solutions on the ground that will add real value to our citizenry and the economy at large. I hope I've responded to your question, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Wale. Okay, so just quickly go online for comments. Again, for those that haven't scanned, there's a QR code, and you can use the slides.com/WATech link. All right, so let's have a look at some of the comments or questions that we may have so that our panelists can respond to them. Okay, so we have, how can your organization or industry leverage blockchain and intelligent automation? We'll get to cyber AI shortly, to drive business value in West Africa. I think one of the comments we got is to be deliberate about adoption of exponential tech. Very good point. Again, please would like, for those of us online, please scan the QR code. We'd like to hear from you. We want to be able to, deliberate. Yeah, so please let's show the code again so that we can get more participation.
Okay, the comment there was about what? What was the comment again?
Deliberately leveraging exponential tech.
Okay. You want to talk about how we can do that, or should I? Okay. If I like that comment about being deliberate in the use of exponential tech. I mean, that what area you lead, technology strategy, essentially passes that message to our clients to say, don't just jump on any bandwagon, but think through what are the potentials, what are the use cases, and what is your ambition? And how can you pick the use cases that support and enable your ambition? I mean, you've been through this process with several clients. I've witnessed you work, so I know what you do. To help shape those conversations around, okay, we want to go, for example, chatbot route. Are we going a chatbot route because we hear people are doing chatbots? We too must do chatbots. Or because we have a genuine customer engagement challenge that requires a scalable platform that's interactive and has a human-like experience. If that is it, then the use case is obviously chatbot, a proper AI chatbot, not all this decision tree chatbots that if you ask the wrong question, you have no idea what to do. Proper natural language processing and all of that in there. So that being deliberate, not just copying and pasting what other people are doing, is the path to unlocking true value from exponential tech. And then you can then see a direct correlation between the investment and either the bottom line impact or the top line growth that's going to arise as a result of that. Even brand imagery can be positively impacted, by making the right investments aligned with a proper ambition and selecting the right use cases that work for you as an entity, as an organization, rather than just what everybody else is doing. That is one huge challenge I see, and I think you alluded to it in your point, that we have a bandwagon mindset, in this jurisdiction. We have to change that. We have to be able to put in the effort to ask ourselves the hard questions individually as organizations. What makes sense for me in this market? What am I going to do that is special? I'm not going to just follow the leader. Okay, who has done it and it has worked? Copy. No. How do I adopt agile, practices within my organization to create that continuous innovation mindset, so I don't just sit on my former glory? I'm able to move forward and move ahead. I don't have to just give testimony that 20 years ago when we started this is how we did. What are you doing today? What are you doing now? Well, but we did it well then. Okay, we hear you. But how come this entity that just came on board 6 months ago is growing 100 times faster than you in a similar segment in which you are operating? Clearly, something is off. Think about it. And rather than saying, I have to destroy that entity, the mindset has to be, what are the deliberate, which is the point that was made on that post, deliberate investments I need to make in exponential tech to unlock value for myself as a business based on where I am, what I want to do, and how I want to achieve it. Good points. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Wale. Do we have any other comments? We'll quickly go through that, and then we'll jump straight to the last one. All right. Okay, so thank you so much. And please can go back to your seats. Thank you. All right. Okay, so we go right into the fifth tech trend area, which is going to be the last one we'll be covering today, and that's around cyber AI. Around cyber AI. So just moving to the next slide, I'll introduce the speaker that will take cyber AI. So Fumi is Associate Director within Deloitte. She's a seasoned security professional with this deep expertise performing cybersecurity and IT-related risk-related services for several organizations across various sectors. She has vast experience undertaking risk assessment and several other, RA-related activities. She has delivered several papers and presentations at some events, ICACA conferences, NCS conferences, and several other conferences. We'll start off with a video, and then afterwards, Fumi will come up to take the last presentation on cyber AI. Thank you.
These guys are good. Let's get to work. A hot little startup with a great idea. Their target, a ProPass. Offices in 12 countries, 5,000 staff. You'd think they'd be secure, wouldn't you? Make some noise. A smokescreen. A decoy breach to hide what they're really after. A secret hidden in the depths of the system.
Still here?
The computer's crashed.
Join the club. See you Monday.
It's okay for some. Right now, the chances are someone, somewhere, is attacking you. And you don't even know it.
Okay, chaps. We're in.
I bet you're wondering how they got this far.
Give us a smile. Lovely. She's in.
Highly sensitive encryption codes from a keystroke reader hidden under a desk for 6 months.
You got it?
Easy.
These guys, they know it all. Except, a few weeks earlier, a Probas were hit by a smaller breach. It made them stop and think how vulnerable they were. So they brought in the experts. They carried out security awareness training and brought in their own ethical hackers to tear up the systems and predict a worst-case scenario. Proactive threat intelligence. They reviewed the whole business and devised a game plan for any breach.
Make some noise. We're in.
It's a denial of service attack. We're just monitoring the situation.
Very clever. Someone else bangs on the windows while you hide in the cellar.
They're onto us.
I'll try blocking them.
Is it working?
I don't know.
Well, I need to know, Gil. Is it working?
Lena, launch a worm.
These guys are good. They're really good.
They're blocking us.
Try again.
They're blocking us!
Try again!
Come on.
Straight to me.
Gotcha.
Good, but not good enough.
You're okay. Traffic's blocked.
You can win, but there's always a next time.
Who's next?
Kobashi Tech.
Criminals just get smarter,
Who have we got for the smoke screen?
Take your pick.
and they're everywhere. A breach will happen, and when it does, will you be ready?
Okay, good morning, everybody. Yeah, I really enjoyed the session so far. I've learned so much about the technology that is coming up, and I don't know if someone can just tell us what they can see as the underlying issue across all these technologies, the cloud, disrupting yourself, Bitcoin. What can you see as something that is underlying? Yes, please. Security. So when you say, I'm going cloud, is my data secure? I'm going cryptocurrency, am I secure? I'm doing this, am I secure? So that's what will pop up in your mind. So cybersecurity is something that you can't run away from. And any organization that puts their head in the sand and says, because some organizations do security in obscurity, who knows me? Nobody knows me. I'm a small company in just my parlor, in the house. I'm just doing something. But now we've seen that you can't, the fact that you're small does not mean you are secure. We know of Bet Niger that had a ransomware attack early April, and their systems were down. The amount of money they would have lost from that. Bet Niger is a very well-known betting platform in Nigeria, one of the foremost betting platforms in Nigeria. And the Russian attackers, so they said that they were hit by Russian attackers, and the Russian attackers told them to bring over $300 million in order to have their systems back. A ransomware incident is whereby the person or the attacker kidnaps your system or takes hold of your system so that you don't have access to it. Now, they told them bring over $340 million in order to get your systems back. Now, what would that kind of organization do? So they must have thought probably that, we're a betting platform, who knows us, who will attack us, we're not a bank. But we are seeing now that organizations outside the FSI industry are even being attacked and hackers are taking over. So we can start going through the slides. I will just talk about some statistics. And what has even made it more scary is the fact that we have people working remotely, the fact that we have the COVID pandemic, the fact that a lot of things are moving tech, the fact that we have so many technology coming up that people want to adopt. So the attackers who are adopting this technology, they are cloud-based hacking platforms. We have hacking as a service, malware as a service, ransomware as a service, whereby all you need to do is to just pay someone and they will help you deploy the ransomware and all that. So we are seeing that they are also adopting these technologies. We are talking about artificial intelligence, machine learning. There are malwares that also use AI to reinvent themselves such that you can't catch them. You don't know that it's a malicious software. In 2019, Nigeria lost like 159 billion naira due to cyber criminals. And there was a projection that by 2023, in 10 years, that Nigeria will lose over 6 trillion naira. But as at 2021 rather, we have lost 5.5 trillion. So you see that at the rate we are going, that 6 trillion, we're going to surpass it very soon. So by 2030, you can't just imagine how much. And we're talking about just Nigeria, not to talk about all African countries. You know, there was a survey done for 148 banks across Africa. And we're just trying to say that, okay, have you fallen victim of any attack within the last probably couple of months? And 85% of them said yes. We are fallen victims of a cyber attack, and we have even lost money in the process. So a lot of people do not talk, but they are having these issues. They are having these issues. ExxonMobil, which is an energy company, it's not even a bank, not a financial institution, said that they had to block more than 64 million emails, 135 million internet access attempts, and other potentially malicious actions every month during since the pandemic. So imagine an organization we talk a lot about business email compromise, whereby someone sends a mail and attackers hijack the mail, take over the mail in transit and edit it. And a lot of organizations go through that. I've been involved personally in a lot of investigations whereby an organization is performing a transaction with another organization and they send an instruction. Say, please help us process this. We have received the goods at the warehouse. Okay, make payment to this account and all. And the attacker takes over the email in transit, changes the account details, and the organization pays to another person's account without knowing. And they just find out when the other party is saying, you've not paid me, I sent instructions since last week, you've not paid me. They're like, we paid you on Friday. And then, are you sure? I haven't seen anything. And they start the reconciliation and they call Deloitte. Deloitte, we've lost over 250 million naira. We've lost over $300 million in this transaction. So and these are organizations that you will not feel that they are the subjects of attack, but they are really going through a lot. So that's just setting the context. We can go to the next slide, please. That's just setting the context of what we are going through. And so what are the major challenges in fighting cybercrime? You can see that even with the war in Ukraine and Russia, we perform 24/7 monitoring for our clients, whereby we monitor their networks, we monitor their systems. And we have noticed that since the war in Ukraine started, there has been a spike in the number of attempts, number of attacks, number of criminal gangs that are going into cybercrime. There has been a spike, astronomical spike. And in fact, even we as security professionals, every day, we are on alert because we have to be on top of our toes. We don't know where they're coming from. We don't know what they will do next. But we have to be able to preempt them. And that's where artificial intelligence comes in. We have to be able to preempt these people. But some of the things that deter, some of the things that deter our fights as collectively against cybercrime is, one, cloud services. Even as we are adopting cloud services, the criminals are adopting cloud services. They can provide their malicious activities from anywhere in the world. Social media is also not helping matters. We now have, before, people would try to hack an email, hack something, but now they're hacking WhatsApp. They're sending malware via WhatsApp. So from your phone, and you're just chatting with somebody, someone sends a malware to your phone. And the malware may be a Trojan such that it just stays quietly in your phone, and just when you log into your banking profile or something, just collects all that information and sends it to the command and control center. So it doesn't even do anything. You would not notice if you don't get hit. Also, cybersecurity skills are few and far between. There is a great scarcity of these skills. Not only in Nigeria, a lot of our clients, that is a major pain because they want to be able to have the skilled resources to defend themselves, but they don't have it. And what we do a lot of time, what we have done in Deloitte is to create an academy such that we have a pool of resources. We take people that just coming out of school, train them, let them work with our experts, and deploy them to our clients so that we can help to address the situation of limited skills. Internet of Things also, when we have smart fridges, smart TVs, smart cameras, they're actually a pain because those devices don't get updated as they need to. If I can just ask, who has updated their smart TV in the last 1 month? Very few people. I'm very enlightened people. In the last, because you don't even know how to update it. I just like, updates? Why do I need to update? We've finally been able to make people know that they need to update their phones. They know that they need to update their laptops because Deloitte will always send, your organization will always send updates. But do you really need to update your smartwatch? Do you need to update your smart glasses, your smart coffee maker, your smart air conditioner, your smart lights? Do you need to update them? Yes, you do. Because all these systems come with vulnerabilities, they come with exposure points, and the people that manufacture them would have sent updates to address those exposures. But if you don't update your system, then you are exposed. And so that's why you will have a smart TV that is beaming, that has been hacked, and someone is seeing everything happening in your house through the camera on the TV. I always make sure that camera is closed. I can't take chances. Yeah, remote working is another issue. You have, and that's why in cybersecurity we're moving to a position of zero trust. Because even though you've given someone a laptop or a system to work, how are you sure is the person you've given that is actually working on the system? How are you sure? The person may be in his house, maybe his son is now the one doing all those things, and he logged in more probably to the core financial application. I just said, let me go to the restroom, and the son comes and just debits one person, credits one person, uses his token, and so you would think it is the person you assigned the rights that did it, but actually it's not. So zero trust is something that a lot of security professionals are now embracing and saying that within our network, we can't trust anybody. So we have to make sure that we implement systems to do that. Also, legal regulatory frameworks are just catching up. And that is why, because there's a void between the legislation and where technology is going and where security is going, the hackers actually exploit that void and hide there. So someone does something, the IP address he used to do it is in the US, the guy is in Nigeria, and he attacks someone probably in South Africa. which law are you going to use to hold the person? Is it US law, South African law, or Nigerian law? Which law? So they kind of like hide under those things and say, then 5G vulnerabilities, we're talking about 5G, faster internet, greater interconnectivity, everything excellent, but there are vulnerabilities embedded there. If you take your driverless car and a hacker takes over the car and you're on your way to Ikeja, but the hacker decides that you should go to Ibadan, how will you get down the car? Stop. Nobody's listening to you. It's a driverless car. You're going. You would have gotten to Ibadan before you can even say anything. So let's go to the next slide. So those are the issues that we are seeing with technology and the way we are going. And some of the use cases, that's why we need to talk about artificial intelligence in cybersecurity. We need to embed artificial intelligence, machine learning, to be able to be one step ahead. Because we've seen that what has been happening in cybersecurity, we have always been one step behind. And some of the use cases that we have seen is one in endpoint protection. When we talk about malware, malicious software. Now, how do you detect? If the attackers are using artificial intelligence to make sure their malicious software and malware are not showing themselves as such, we also need to use AI to be able to detect them. We need to use AI to do user behavior analytics. We should be able to preempt when someone is going rogue. Someone that is only supposed to access a database suddenly is accessing the firewall. Or someone that is only supposed to put in numbers, a teller or someone that's only supposed to put in numbers is suddenly logging into a server, a remote server. So those are the things that we need to use. We need to be able to analyze our user behavior and infuse AI to know that, okay, this person is going to go rogue in the next 1 or 2 days. Let me lock down that person's access now. Even in terms of network threats, analyzing the network to say, okay, what are the packets that are flowing through this network and what are the things I need to do? If I see that packets are going towards a particular segment of the network that contains critical servers, how can I immediately block that IP from being accessed on my firewall? So we're talking about practical things that we can do. And so that those are some of the things we're saying. Even in alert automation, and when we go deeper into some of the case studies, a lot of organizations, they have what we call security operations centers, where they move away from saying, okay, what can I do to prevent people from coming? But say, okay, I will do what I need to do to prevent. But when they come, how will I know they have come in? How would I know the bad actors have come in? So they infuse AI into those operations such that they're able to detect when someone bad or a malicious actor has come into the network, and they're able to proactively do things to prevent the person from having access, lock down segments of the network, ensure that the firewall blocks the person's IPs, ensure that all those things. Using AI and automation to do that. So those are just some of the use cases. We can go to the next slide where we dive into some of the new use cases. So AIA Insurance, they had a security operations. They called it a data lake, security data lake. It was like an operations center whereby they collect information across the network. And what they needed to do was that they wanted near real-time reporting of what is happening within the network. And they explored artificial intelligence to infuse artificial intelligence into that operation. And what it helped them to do was that they were able to get a 360-degree risk view of their network based on the risk areas, things that are coming in, things that are being triggered, and they were able to have that executive view. So executives could just open the dashboard and be able to see where are my weak points within the network, where are my strengths, what types of attacks am I getting, what decisions do I need to make now to prevent my organization from losing money tomorrow. So that was very, very good return on investment for them. There was also a financial institution in West Africa that also had that kind of level of monitoring. And their main pain point was that they were having so many alerts. They had a very big spread across Africa, different countries across Africa. And they were getting alerts. This person did this, that person did that. And what they wanted was that it's not just about being alerted on issues that are happening. I want to be able to respond quickly. I want my response time to be less than 1 minute. I want to be able to respond and proactively do something to secure myself. And they deployed what we call a SOA tool, which is the security orchestration and automation and response tool, which has artificial intelligence embedded. And what it does is that it automates a lot of the response tasks that the analysts do, like blocking of IPs, blocking user IDs that are having issues. If someone is trying a brute force whereby they try different passwords, terminating the session. So it will do all those things quickly. And you can have that 1 minute response time, which they wanted. And they were able to clear a lot of the incidents that they were seeing. And the analysts were only looking at maybe very persistent things and making decisions based on that. So those are just some of, there's many, many use cases for artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. These are just some of them. And probably we can talk more once we're having questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for that presentation. All right, I know we are about 20 minutes over our time, and we'll try to wrap up quickly. So if we have comments, please let's quickly drop our comments and questions. I know we got a comment earlier around blockchain in terms of how we engage with regulators, and I think the comment was more around ensuring that we just don't focus on cryptocurrency, but looking at blockchain at large. So thank you very much for that comment. So we'll just wait for a few seconds if you have questions, comments regarding the last presentation before I invite our consulting leader to take the closing remarks. Okay, all right then. Okay. All right, so thank you very much for me again. Okay, so now we'll take the closing remarks, and I'll invite Yemi Saka. Yemi Saka is our West Africa consulting leader and the deputy chair for Deloitte Africa Board. Thank you very much.
That's a rather extended clap. Thank you so much, Dapo. I think the session has been quite useful. I know we have about over 60 people online, which is great. We have a few people in the room. I think this is the part where virtual meets also physical, but given the pandemic and all of the disruption, I think there seems to be a lot more comfort with people joining events like this, I guess virtually. But again, I think I want to use this opportunity to really thank our speakers. I think bringing insights and sharing your perspectives around the technology trends has been quite useful. Our participants as well. I think the time spent this morning unpacking our Techtrends 2022 has been quite useful. I mean, I'll say our firm Deloitte invests annually and is very focused and invest significantly in this research, and it's one that we're going to continue to do. We always say that technology has become more exponential. I was actually doing I was reading about sort of the future of technology, and it's interesting what a number of futurists say about technology. For example, I read a very interesting proposition that in the year 4000 is when the field of computer science will reach it will actually be mature. In the year 4000, which is quite mind-boggling when you think about it. And what that is saying is that, and I think he emphasizes the whole point around exponential technology. So when we talk about technology being exponential, truly, there's a lot more advances that we're going to see. I think all of the trends that we covered today, cloud, data, blockchain, automation, and cyber, we're going to start seeing more of interconnection between all of these trends, and we can anticipate that they will converge more. I think, as organizations disrupt themselves and disrupt their market, disrupt business models, technology is going to be that significant enabler that would enable future states of their business. And for organizations that are lagging behind, organizations that will be disrupted, they're either going to be playing catch up in order to adopt a lot of these trends, or simply just will be disrupted. And unfortunately, that's the world that we live in now. But again, I think I want to thank everyone for attending. We want to keep the dialogue going. We are also going to. There's a report that we're working on as well that will also be releasing as a backdrop to this event. We want to keep the dialogue going. We're going to be engaging a number of our clients going forward, specifically around Techtrends, and also looking ahead to see areas for collaboration. But let me encourage that we all sort of invest our own personal time in just looking ahead and reading and reflecting on the state of where technology is going. And from a Deloitte perspective, we're always very enthusiastic about collaborating and just talking about technology. So again, thank you very much, and please have a wonderful rest of your day. I believe we have some refreshments and opportunities for more networking. So thank you very much. Dapo.
All right. Thank you very much, Yemi. Okay, so we've come to the end of the event today. Thank you everyone for joining online, and thanks to everyone in the room. For those in the room, we have some refreshments. For those online, all right, so thanks everyone, and hope to see, as Yemi mentioned, we'll keep the conversation going. We'll issue a report shortly. And yeah, so thanks again, and let's have a good weekend.